Gusta la historia, suscríbete para más. The sun had barely risen over the dry Texas plains when Caleb Harper brushed the dust from his coat and sat on the old bench outside the weather-beaten train station. He was a cowboy who had spent years carving a life out of land that never gave more than it had to. Seasons came and went, cattle herds grew and shrank, and though he had friends in town, his heart carried a quiet emptiness. For years, he'd been strong for everyone else. But now, he longed for someone who might be strong for him too. That's why he had written letters, simple words scrawled in his neat hand, to a woman he had never met, a mail-order bride from back east. She had promised to come, to build a life with him, and perhaps, to soften the sharp edges of the loneliness that sometimes kept him awake at night. The train whistle shrieked in the distance. Caleb's pulse quickened. He stood tall, boots planted in the dirt, ready to greet the woman who would step down from the carriage. But when the doors opened, the figure who appeared was nothing like the gentle bride he had pictured. Instead, a woman in a tattered coat, with eyes sharp as flint and a revolver at her hip, leapt down. She moved like she was ready for a fight with the whole world. People scattered, whispers rising, "Outlaw." Caleb's heart sank, but before he could move, her gaze locked on him. "You the cowboy waiting on a bride?" she asked, her voice both mocking and weary. "Yes, ma'am," he said carefully. "And I reckon you're not her." She smirked. "No. But she ain't coming. Name's Clara. I'm taking her place." The crowd gasped, and Caleb felt anger flash through him. But when he looked closer, he saw the exhaustion under her bravado, the hunger in her hollow cheeks, the tremor in her hands. She wasn't just an outlaw, she was running from something bigger than the law itself. Caleb could have sent her away. Could have drawn his own gun. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the quiet plea buried in her defiance. Maybe it was the part of him that knew loneliness better than most men. Gusta la historia, suscríbete para más. That night, instead of turning her in, Caleb offered her food and a place in his barn. Clara laughed at first, thinking it was a trick. But when he set a warm plate in front of her, she froze, tears gathering despite the steel in her expression. No one had shown her kindness in a long, long time. Over the days that followed, Clara worked alongside Caleb on the ranch. She mended fences, rounded cattle, and kept watch during storms. Slowly, the outlaw mask began to slip, revealing a woman who had once dreamed of peace, of a home, but had been forced into a life of violence by circumstance. Caleb never asked for details, he just offered silence when she needed it, and gentle conversation when she could bear it. And in those moments, she realized he wasn't just a lonely cowboy. He was a man who believed in giving even when the world had taken so much from him. One evening, as the sun bled red across the horizon, Clara confessed. "I thought I had to fight everyone to survive. But you fight by giving." "Why?" Caleb looked at her, his weathered face soft. "Because once, someone gave me a second chance when I didn't deserve it. Figure it's my turn now." The climax came one night when the law finally caught Clara's trail. A posse rode up, demanding she be handed over. Caleb stood in the doorway, unarmed but steady. "She's not the same woman you're chasing," he told them. "She's worked these fields, earned her bread honest. If you still want her, you'll have to go through me." Clara, hidden inside, heard his words and felt something break open in her chest. For the first time in her life, someone had chosen her, not for what she could take, but for what she could become. The sheriff studied Caleb's eyes, then Clara's trembling figure behind him. After a long silence, he tipped his hat. "Keep her straight, Harper. World don't need another outlaw, it needs more folks like you." And just like that, they rode away. Clara collapsed into Caleb's arms, sobbing. Not out of fear, but out of the overwhelming, almost unbearable relief of being seen as worthy of a second chance. Seasons passed. The ranch grew stronger, and so did Clara. She laid down her gun, picked up hope, and discovered that love wasn't about escape or control, it was about trust and quiet courage. Caleb never got the bride he had ridden for. Instead, he got something even rarer, a partner who had walked through fire and chose to stand by his side. Gusta la historia, suscríbete para más. And though the world still whispered about the outlaw woman and the cowboy who saved her, Caleb and Clara knew the truth, it wasn't about saving. It was about believing in the goodness that still lives, even in the most unlikely of hearts.